Hey everyone, my name is Carlos. I'm the founder and CEO of Product School, and today I'm here joined by Sharon and Kim, Senior Director of Product at Wise. Hey Sharon,
Hi there.
thank you for joining the show. I'm excited to dive into all things diversity, inclusion, Wise, but let's start from the very beginning. Why don't you tell us a bit more about your own personal journey and how you broke into product?
Yeah, sure. Look, thanks very much for the invite. Really, really excited to be here, and hopefully it's interesting for everyone listening. So my journey into product, I guess, like probably many other product managers, kind of started with just an interest in tech and a bit of dabbling in my spare time, like a little bit of coding here and there. But fundamentally because I wanted to change career. So I used to be a journalist, and I kind of burnt out, didn't really work out. I took some time out, and then I pursued my interest and like passion around tech, and just thought I'd have a go. And maybe got lucky, or maybe I made my own luck. I don't know, but I found myself in a product role, and kind of just went from there. I found a job that I really loved, and I think that was what propelled me into it, really.
That is really cool. Like I haven't met many journalists that turned into PM. So how do you think that previous experience help you shift your mindset to now become a PM?
I think it's not unrelated. So I think there's something that I took from that previous career, which was really like the ability to just operate under any kind of pressure or any kind of environment. So when you're a journalist, you are going out into the field, or I was actually a defense journalist, so into some like quite scary places, and you basically just have to work on your feet or in the back of a truck or in a plane or whatever. And you don't, it's unpredictable. You don't know what questions you're going to like ask, or you don't know what answers you're going to get back. And that ability to just remain calm and just keep going and not flip out is actually really useful. And I definitely apply that all the time now in my product career. And I guess it also gives me perspective as well, right? It's like I used to work in defense, right, and with the military, and that's much more life and death than some of the decisions that I am involved in now. So I think it helps to keep me calm by giving me perspective, but also that I've worked at some pretty uncomfortable desks in the past.
I can imagine. That's wow. I mean, when you said that your background was in journalism, I had no idea it was in defense, like literally on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, so technically, I did two things. So I was a journalist initially, and did everything from like music journalism through to sort of trade journalism, anything really to just get on the career ladder. But then realised that actually the other side of journalism and being a press secretary was probably going to be a bit more lucrative. So I thought I'd try that, and I ended up sort of merging the two and working for the UK government, which is how I ended up in sort of war zones and more interesting places. So it was kind of accidental. And in the end, it didn't really work out for me. It wasn't, I think, it wasn't where my passion lay, but it was certainly interesting, and I got some pretty cool experience from it that I think I still apply today in my product roles.
And how was that first moment? So you are working in a very different field, and how did it happen? Did you find out about it and apply to a job? Did someone pitch you the idea?
Do you mean of like being a product manager?
Yeah.
Not quite. No. I mean, like, I think it was sort of accidental. Like, this was, I guess, 10 years ago or so, and product in the UK at that point, it didn't have the kind of fanfare and the publicity that it now has, right? Like, I think most people know that product manager is a job title that you can go and get, and you can do courses like Product School and others. But at that point, when I was getting into it, that didn't exist. What I knew was I could see that if you coded stuff, you could build stuff and have real impact. And I was like, there must be a way to like apply that somewhere. People need things built, whether it's like a blog or a website or an app or whatever. And I think I just found it through that. I was like, actually, I kind of like building stuff, but I also like having a say in what gets built. And that was really what drew me into this role that I found out was called product manager. So it was really, really by accident. But I guess I had one of the core pillars of product. If you distill it down to tech, UX, and business, I think that's the Venn diagram. I definitely had a bit of the tech, and I thought the UX was common sense, and the business bit, I think I just made that up, to be honest, when I first started.
Well, that worked out. And I'm sure that now it's a very different story. And obviously your soft skills and your communication skills are serving you very well as you are in a much more senior stage in your career. Let's talk about product. Like one of our mantras is just to fall in love with the problem, not with the solution. What are some of those key problems that you are passionate about?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I thought about this. There's definitely been a theme through some of the product roles that I've done. I'd say one part of it is I don't like inefficiency, and I also don't like sort of unfairness and like, where people are being ripped off or they're not getting a good deal. And certainly at TransferWise, what we're doing is trying to get past hidden fees that people charge people to send their money overseas. There's some unfairness there, I think, in the way banks operate. And that was one of the problems that really appealed to me at TransferWise. But I've worked in other roles where I've seen those kind of that unfairness and wanted to change it. And then the inefficiency part of it, I've worked on products where I've seen that there's a much better way to do the product that is already in the market. So a good example, one of my previous roles was at a company called Bloom and Wild, which in the UK, they're doing pretty well. I don't know if you'll have heard of them in the US, but they are an online flower delivery company. So like Interflora or I think it's 118 Flowers or whatever they're called in the US. It basically allows you to order flowers on your phone, and it's easy to order them, but also the flowers you get are way nicer than the ones that traditional florists would have on their shelves for weeks. And the company was basically just trying to make something a lot better and nicer than it was. And I was like, cool, yeah, I really resonate with that. I think I get a lot of satisfaction from solving those kinds of problems. But then I reflected on my TransferWise experience. I think there's another problem that I like solving, which is like, how do you get this stuff built? And my role now is actually a lot more about building the team at TransferWise and how we actually scale what we do. And I think that's a really fascinating problem because there's not usually a prescribed solution. You've got to find people and then you try and help them work together and you try and coach them. And your people really are your product as much as the actual tech and the apps and the website or whatever that you're building. And I'm really excited about that one. I think that's one I've grown into in the past few years, and hopefully doing okay at it. But I certainly enjoy it.
Well, I remember first time I heard of your company when it was called TransferWise, not just Wise, and I was a student. I was telling you, right, like many years ago, and I moved from Spain to the US, and I wanted to send some euros. And I had no way to do it. It was just such a pain to go ask the bank and like the fees and the whole thing. And one of my classmates told me about it. And like, one of the things I love about product or tech in general is that from the outside, when there's a beautiful product, it feels so simple, right? Like you just go and you almost can't believe that in a couple of clicks that solution is implemented. But from the back, I just can only imagine the mess that it's to orchestrate all this for so many different use cases when you are dealing with money across borders, in different currencies and different legislations.
Yes. Basically. I mean, I thought, I was thinking about that as well when I was preparing for this chat, actually. I think a lot of people's perception of product is that it's the front end. It's the website, it's a shiny homepage even. Like I think there's this myth that actually the homepage has a lot of weight and it's really important. And oftentimes in businesses, it's really not. Like it's good to have one and people may land there, but often they don't. Often what they want to do is just go straight into the sales funnel or into the calculator that tells them how much money they're going to get when they send their money. And those things are actually like much more valuable than a homepage. And then if you keep sort of thinking through that kind of approach, actually the stuff that goes on behind the scenes is what really has the impact. So to use a Wise or TransferWise example, when you send your money overseas, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes that makes it cheaper, faster, easier. Probably the bit that makes it easier is the website and that kind of front end experience, but that doesn't make it cheaper and that doesn't make it faster. Like we have a network of integrations with banks in various countries. And a lot of what we do there is around finding partners that will help us get faster and cheaper so that we can offer that awesome experience for customers that hopefully you had when you were using TransferWise a few years back.
Totally, I agree. I think product management, or at least the website, is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much complexity behind the scenes. And like when I try to explain this to my mom, she's still like, how is it work? I see the website, it's working. So why do you still work there? Like, well, there's a lot of maintainers that go behind the scenes and so on. And you're right. I think 10 years ago, product didn't have the seat at the table, or at least as it is today, there's much more weight on product. now people understand that this is here to stay, that there's a role called Chief Product Officer or VP of Product that reports directly into the CEO. This is not as a function of marketing or as a function of technology anymore.
Yeah, and that's really exciting. Like I think if I think back through my product career, I've had like a real range actually of bosses. Like sometimes it's been the CEO, which is cool. That's really exciting. Sometimes it's been marketing. Other times it's been the chief product officer, or it's been, like a variety of things. And I think increasingly now it is a first class concern. And certainly for any like modern business or digital business or startup, the product role is really taken seriously and will often go straight to the CEO. And I think that's a reflection of the impact that you can have doing products, which personally I find super exciting. Like you change stuff and you see big numbers move, or you see big amounts of customers get something that they didn't have before. It's way more than just a website. Like that's not to trivialize websites though. I think you can actually achieve a lot by building a good website and a good UX and a good sort of front end experience. Like we have that at Transferwise as well. And we do have a lot of people who work on it. Specifically, actually, there's certain teams that focus more on the stuff behind the scenes and others that focus more on the front, and you need both of those components. But I think product should never just be the front end. It should always be the whole package.
Let's talk about diversity and inclusion in product. I remember not so long ago was this myth that, you have to be a software engineer to work in product. And since most of the engineers are men, well, technically most of PMs have to be men as well, right? And now we're seeing this is much more to it. And we see designers, we see business people, we see journalists, and obviously there are so many different types of diversity. So what's your take on that?
I think it definitely takes a diverse group of people to build good products. 100% believe that. I actually relatively recently read the article, and I forget the name of the author, who was talking about that experience of like product managers having to have been engineers. I think it was at Google. And I was actually really surprised, because I was like, of all the product managers I've worked with, actually relatively few have moved over from engineering. And most of the best ones that I've worked with haven't written a line of code really. Like they've their skill set is elsewhere, whether it's design or analytics or that big mysterious thing called the business. I think at the end of the day, you need all of those skills in the team. It matters less who's doing them. So at Transferwise, we boast about our autonomy and how anyone actually can make product decisions, and that's true. So if you're an analyst or you're a tech lead or an engineer in our teams, you may well end up making product decisions. And to be honest, I think it's more about, can you make good decisions rather than are you making a decision because you're an engineer or because you're a designer. But I do think you need all sorts. If you have a team of just designer product managers, you're probably going to lack some engineering stability, probably. Equally, if you've only got people that have come from that engineering background, you're probably going to lack the ability to talk to your customers in as effective a way as if you've come from maybe a design or research background. I genuinely think you need all sorts. And in terms of skill sets and backgrounds, but also things like your demographics or where industries they've come from before, or even where they've grown up and what country they're from. I think all of those things really add a lot to a team. And at Transferwise, it's something we take very seriously. We're not for a minute saying that we're in a perfect position and we've got the perfectly diverse team. We haven't. We've got lots more work to do there, but we're definitely treating it as a first class concern. And personally, I see it as a way to achieve our Transferwise mission much quicker. Is if we've got that diverse team that is bringing many different things to the table, we're probably going to move faster. We're probably going to solve problems better. We're probably going to reach more customers, and that can only be a good thing.
I agree. I think ultimately, if you can tie this to ROI and show that diverse teams build more diverse products and better products that can ultimately have better results for your customers, like the outcome is right there. And I also think it's very important to see role models. Like the fact that you are here, you're senior director of product, and you don't come from the traditional engineering background, or that you are not based in Silicon Valley, that really encourages a lot of people to realize that it is possible.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I think representation is so important, and I don't represent every demographic and every background, but I represent some, and I really hope that when I stand up and I talk on things like this, or if I'm even just in a meeting, that if it encourages someone to get into product who wasn't encouraged before, then that's awesome. And I'm really aware that I think, when you have a role in a product team and the more senior your role, you do have that responsibility, like you have impact. People look at you, and if they see someone who looks a bit like them, they may be more likely to do that job than they were before. I don't think it's the only thing that impacts diversity, but I think it does make a big difference. And if the stats are really obvious. If you look at product organizations where there's a chief product officer who's a woman, for example, the team is going to have more women probably than the average product team. And that probably applies to any other demographics that you might want to track and measure. So yeah, I think it's super important. But the other thing that I think really helps is that you should be aware of where your biases are, or where you don't represent a particular community or type of person or nationality, whatever it may be. And by being aware of it, listening and trying to learn what you're missing by not having it. And I don't think anyone's ever going to tick every box and know everything about every different demographic. But I think you should try at least to listen and be aware of where you're missing something. Otherwise, you're unlikely to be able to correct it.
I agree. It's so hard to develop this type of awareness, especially if people don't have the exposure or the opportunity to talk with different people from different cultures, from different countries. It's different in general, and I think I was part of the problem, and now I'm trying to be part of the solution. Like in Spain, at least I grew up where okay, I was a software engineer, and everyone was thinking the exact same way. And it's only when I study abroad where I realized that there were so many different options, and that I just was so blind. So I think especially in leadership positions, it's so important to lead by example, to help others get to where we are faster.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I've been reflecting on my career actually quite a lot because of International Women's Day. It's a great chance to talk about your journey into product, or your journey into TransferWise, in my case. And I was thinking back, if there were some things I would love to have known when I was leaving school or leaving university. There's many, but I think just being aware of more different career options would have been high up there. I had a pretty traditional school and university experience, and something like accountancy or management consultancy was pretty obvious to me, but technology just wasn't. It just never really came up, didn't come up at school particularly, despite me doing a relatively technical degree in biochemistry. Nobody really pushed me towards a more technical career, and not even pushed. It just didn't really come up. And you don't know what's not there, and I think that's really important. If some people are more likely to hear about product management as a role, the chances are you're going to get more of those people doing that job. So it's I think anyone in the industry should do their bit to maybe reach out to the people who look like them, and by doing that, maybe we can reach more people and build more diverse product manager teams. It's not just product manager, right? It spreads to engineering, to design, to any of the other functions that you work with. I think any of those would benefit equally from having more diverse teams.
So what are some specific things that your company or you personally are doing to foster more diversity and inclusion within TransferWise?
So we're doing lots of things, and I'm really excited about this. Actually, I got involved soon after I joined TransferWise. There was definitely some noise, shall we say, about the fact that our product team wasn't as diverse as it should be. I think the ratio of women to men at that point was around 20%, so not great, and actually below the industry standard. And a few of my colleagues had identified this and had started to really push to change it. And I joined and tried to do my bit to help, and we applied our product brains to it, which I thought was obviously a good thing to do. We did some measurements, figured out where the gaps were, and we got pretty quickly to realizing that the big problem was that women just weren't applying. We weren't getting female candidates coming into our product team, and it was such an easy thing to fix. We're well, we just need to go and find them. We just need to go and source more women or more diverse candidates. Just go and look for different people from different channels. And we started doing that. So a group of us, so a few product managers, some of our people or our HR team, recruiters, we basically set ourselves the target that when we were sourcing candidates and going out and reaching them and bringing them, like encouraging them to apply, we mandated that we would reach out to equal portions, male and female. So that's not screening, that's just actually going out and finding candidates to encourage them to apply. Completely within our control, but before the numbers were pretty shocking actually. We basically were just reaching out to men, and no surprise, the team started to look very much like that. We started doing that about 9 or 10 months ago, and we've managed to double the number of the proportion of women in our teams in that short time. So we've gone from, I think it was about 18% up to 39% women now, which is really amazing. I'm super proud of the team, and like it's just awesome to see how much difference we've made by making what's a relatively small tweak. There's been a lot of hard work. There's been a lot of sourcing and a lot of conversations and a lot of interviews, and a lot of people involved. But on the grand scheme of things, like that is not a hard thing to do. And if we can do that for one particular demographic, maybe we can do that in other places too. Like our teams, our lack of women is not the only problem in our product and product teams. Like there's other demographics that probably we're not reaching, and if we did reach them, we'd probably have stronger teams or we'd hire people faster. So I'm hoping that we can apply it more widely. We've got other teams at TransferWise who are also starting to do this and learning from what we've done. So across marketing and engineering, we're already setting targets and trying to follow up and do more of this kind of thing. We've also hired a diversity and inclusion lead for the first time at Wise, which is awesome. She joined us a few months ago. And while a role like that isn't going to solve all our problems for us, she can probably help us with measuring and figuring out how to reach people and generally guiding us on that process. And I think also it's a statement of intent as well. The fact that we've invested in someone whose full-time job is to care about this and advocate for it, I think speaks really loudly, and it sends the right message. Like we do care, and we know that we've got more to do.
Love that. And as I got to know more about your team, I know we've been in touch for a very long time. And that's something that is so core to our values. I'm also, an international trying to make it. And now that we have a platform, I think it's important to use the platform for the causes that we care about. When your team pitched us the idea of, increasing more diversity or more women to apply to positions in product, in TransferWise specifically, I think it was really cool. And I know we're going to launch something very big soon, but I just want to give a sneak peek to the audience, since it's International Women's Day. We are literally launching a women-only cohort, fully sponsored by TransferWise, to help more women to learn and grow in product. So thank you for drinking your own champagne, for really leading by example and not just saying.
Yeah, and I think I'm super proud of us for doing this. It's my colleague Annie Silver, who isn't here tonight, has driven a lot of this. And I think she should be really proud of herself for getting it to where it is. I'm really excited to meet candidates who come and apply and hopefully take a place on this course. And I'm going to join. I'm going to be a mentor. I'm going to help with some of the coaching along the way, as are many of my other product colleagues at TransferWise. And I think it's the first time we've done it. I'm sure we'll get a bunch of stuff wrong, but we'll learn from it, and hopefully we'll keep going, and it will generally be a good thing. I'm sort of excited, slightly nervous, because we don't actually know what to expect. Also, personally, I've not done the product school course, so I think it's going to be a really interesting experience for me to learn about how do you teach product. That's not something I ever did in a classroom, but I think it's a really, really great way to bring more people into product management.
For me, teaching is the ultimate step in learning. So I feel you. Like it's nerve-wracking and doing it, putting yourself out there for the first time. And like for me, at least, when I started the company, I was teaching all the time, and I was learning selfishly. Like, yes, I think I was making a good impact on people, but I think I was also becoming a better manager myself. I think ultimately good leaders need to have the empathy and the time to give back and help others grow.
Yeah, I very, very much agree. I definitely don't know that I'm a particularly good teacher, but I'm so open for trying. I think, hopefully me being there and some of the other product managers being there and sharing their experiences will really help people who are looking to get into product management. And I certainly think at Wise, or TransferWise as we used to be known, I think we have really exciting product roles and opportunities, and I think they should appeal to a wide range of people. And I really hope that we continue to grow our team and find more different types of people to come and help us achieve our mission. I think the exciting thing about growing teams is you don't quite know what you're going to get. And often your product is the function of that energy and those skills that you bring in. And yeah, personally, I think that's really exciting. It's not predictable.
So Sharon, I want to go back at your own personal journey and learn more about those skills that help you grow. So I understand your path from journalism into product, but what happened? How did you go from just entry-level PM all the way up to senior director of product? What would you say are those key moments or skills that help you grow your career?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, the long and the short of it is, I think, just building product. So getting the opportunity to talk to customers, figure out what's wrong, build something and see if it works, and doing that as many times as possible is really how I learn. And I would advocate that as the best way to learn product. I kind of chose my career path really because of driven by that. So how could I get as many cycles of that in as possible? I went to startups mainly, and the pace obviously is a lot quicker at startups. You get to fire through stuff super fast. And I really went through that loop many, many times. I got a lot of things wrong and made a lot of mistakes along the way. But I feel like now that really helps me to know what to ask product managers when I'm interviewing them, or know what to say to them when I'm coaching them, or when I'm if they're asking me about a problem, even if I'm not actually in their team or in their in the depths of the detail of what they're doing. I've got usually some sort of playbook or some sort of pattern that I can refer back to and think, oh yeah, actually I remember I did this thing and maybe that's relevant. And it's really about to do that. It's don't forget when you fail. Remember what it was you did wrong, or remember what it was you did right. Write it down if you need to. Find a way to store it. I'm definitely a great believer in having a second brain. I use Trello methodically to document everything, and I think just having that kind of playbook of stuff that you remember because you've actually done it hands-on is super powerful. And that's definitely one of the things that appealed to TransferWise when I joined a couple of years ago, was the chance to remain relatively hands-on. And everyone at TransferWise builds product, even if you're the CEO, you still build stuff occasionally. And I think that's probably the most important part of learning product. The bit alongside that is how to coach people. And I think that's probably the bit where I've done more reading and more kind of asking for help from mentors, because I think that's something that's quite different. You can definitely sort of stumble around and not really learn your trade in the same way. You don't get a graph that tells you whether it's worked or not. It's much more subtle. But yeah, I'm definitely a strong believer of learning by doing. I don't really like textbooks and courses so much, although maybe product school is probably going to change my mind. I think there's definitely a place for those things, and they really do help some people. But yeah, personally, my journey was more about just diving in and making a load of mistakes and trying not to burn out in the process. It was a kind of very high energy, high iteration rate.
Yeah, I mean, there is no replacement for doing. That's clear. And obviously books, courses can help. At the end of the day, you have to be out there and learn and fail. And failure is a really good teacher as well. We try to make our trainings as hands-on as possible. So every student is building, they're using the tools that they use in the work. Actually, Trello is one of them. But yeah, and I also think that having references like mentors, as you said, asking for help and really learning from the real doers instead of just from traditional teachers, it's very important, especially in the stuff that we do, because it changes so fast that you, at least in my case, I created literally the school that I didn't have. Nobody taught me anything about product or digital marketing or copywriting or UX design in school. And I always had to find my way. And I think that in itself is helpful. but I also hope that I had maybe mentors or access to resources, at least a curated list of resources, because I think I also wasted a lot of time just by not knowing what I was doing.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think probably, you know, maybe I would have accelerated my product career by a few years if I'd found product school when I started out. And yeah, you're right. You know, I remember thinking every time I found a new tool that I hadn't, you know, solved my problem in a better way, I was like, oh wow, if I'd had that 2 years ago, that would have been awesome.
I guess that as a journalist, your notes might look incredible.
Maybe, or maybe I would have burnt out sooner. I don't know.
Well, Sharon, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I guess final comment to wish everyone a very, very happy International Women's Day. I think it's a really important day to be celebrating, whatever your motivation for celebrating it is. I think around the world it means different things to different people. But either way, I think it's a really important day just to acknowledge all the great women who work in product, but also in any other profession, and just acknowledge some of the awesome stories and things that they're doing out there. So I'll leave it on that.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story in such a transparent and honest way. Take care.
Thank you.